All right, the numbers are staggering. According to the CBO, legalizing 2 million illegal immigrant dreamers, that means their parents came here and they just came along because they were really young, will cost the government $26 billion over the next decade. And while activists argue legalizing them would be an economic boost, our next guest claims that's not really accurate. Here to back up those numbers, Policy Director for the Center for Immigration Studies, Jessica Vaughan. Jessica, where's this number come from?
This comes from the Congressional Budget Office, which are like accountants to Congress, and they run the numbers on the population that would be covered by this amnesty and according to the legislation, and they look at the fiscal costs. They balance out any increased revenue that the U.S. government would receive based on taxes paid versus the public assistance and other public expenses associated with legalizing this population. And when you do the math, it doesn't come out well for an amnesty.
But they're
talking about $26 billion.
Right. You're not talking about the millions that are here illegally. You're just talking about these ones that the so-called DACA, right? The dreamers that came here, brought here as young children, and they can't get legal status, correct? You're not talking about all illegal immigrants, are you?
No, but this particular piece of legislation that they analyzed, which was introduced by Senator Lindsey Graham over the summer, would legalize not only the people with DACA, but anyone who got here under the age of 18 up to 4 years ago. So that also includes a large number of the unaccompanied minors who came from Central America, as well as the people who got DACA under President Obama. So it's a much bigger population and a younger population. It also doesn't have an upward age cap on it. So lots of older illegal aliens who didn't get DACA would qualify as well. And so that's part of the reason behind this big cost. But the main problem is that this is a group of illegal aliens who are lightly educated and working mostly in unskilled jobs. We've gotten this impression that they're mostly college kids, you know, from the activists, but the truth is that many of them lack a high school education and are going to acquire access to welfare benefits like health care.
Right. And you also talk about chain migration, too, because you could have 80,000 more people along with them if you give them the legal status. However, the legislation, they're not going to let them, the kids can't get their parents' legal status. They also say Medicaid, food stamps, educational funding, and other programs will lead to paying out a lot for them to be members of our society. But what right now is the cost? What about if they aren't legalized? What kind of burden are they on the system?
Well, if they aren't legalized, they're not getting access to food stamps, usually. In some states, they may be, but they are subject to deportation. So, you know, or they may leave if enforcement is increased. They may decide to go home on their own. So, you know, amnesties are always costly because they encourage more illegal immigration and they displace Americans from jobs. So if Congress is considering an amnesty for this population, we need to be real and understand it's going to be costly, but also take steps to reduce the chain migration and the future illegal immigration that could come about as a result. Yeah,
very interesting, because I hear that immigration reform is on the launch pad for early in 2018. So we're going to have you back, Jessica, to look at what's at stake. Thanks so much.